Anne Burrows, DTM to the third power, will be giving her speech from the Presentation Mastery Path level number 3. Project number 1, Persuasive Speaking. The speaker is to write a speech that focuses on helping audience to develop and support a viewpoint. Choose any topic that lends itself to speaking persuasively. The time for the timer will be 5 to 7 minutes, and her title is Guilt. So thank you very much. Let's welcome Anne Burrows, DTM 3, with her speech today.
Guilt. How many of you ever feel guilty? I think we all do, right? And guilt is something strange. You can have guilt for something you did, something you didn't do, something you wished you'd have done, and something you wished you hadn't done. Right, Louise? And some people feel guilty about feeling guilty. Now, there's lots of words associated with guilt, like guilt-laden. When I hear those words, it reminds me of being a big mound of mashed potatoes, and somebody comes along with a ladle full of guilt and they just smother it all over you. Ugh, get it off me. Or when was the last time you got a letter in the mail that said, "Dear Wendy, you were invited to a party for guilt. It's on Saturday night at 6 o'clock. Come on down." Now, there's so many ways that we can feel guilty, and then you keep adding more. Did you know that there is a green guilt? What's green guilt? That's when we don't do enough to take care of Mother Nature. Maybe we don't recycle enough. Well, let me tell you that guilt knows how to recycle. Oh yeah, you do something you wished you hadn't done, and it keeps reminding you over and over and over in your mind like a loop tape, sometimes for days, months, years, and you carry that guilt with you everywhere you go. And then there's diet guilt. I'm sure all of you are familiar with this, or you know someone that is. You wake up in the morning, hop on the scale, you have gained 2 pounds. Well, you might as well just put your jammies back on because your day is ruined. So one day you finally decide, all right, that's it. I'm going on a diet come Monday morning. Monday morning comes, you are psyched. You walk into the office, and there in the middle of the room is the most delectable, delicious, decadent looking chocolate cake you have ever laid your eyes on. And of course you love chocolate cake. It's Susie's birthday. Noon comes. They sing happy birthday to Susie. Then they cut the pieces of cake. Every piece of cake that walks by you, it waves that smell of that delicious chocolate. Oh, but you're hanging tight. I'm on a diet. All afternoon, everyone you encounter tells you how delicious and amazing that chocolate cake was. But you're holding firm. It's now 4:55, almost time to go home. You walk into the main room, and there, in the middle of the room, is that final piece of that decadent, delicious chocolate cake. It calls you to it. As you stand there and look at the cake, the thought in your mind says, oh, come on, just take a little tiny bite. I mean, after all, everybody said it was the best cake they ever ate. You don't want to miss out on that. So in a weak moment, you pick up a fork. You take a little teeny tiny taste of that chocolate cake. Oh my gosh, it just melts in your mouth. It truly is the best cake you have ever eaten. And in 3 minutes, you've scarfed up the entire cake, scraped off the bottom of the tray, licked off the final crumb, and placed your fork on the counter. And then the other voice in your head says, I can't believe it. This is the first day of your diet. Can't you even stick to your diet for one whole day? You're such a loser. Guilt gets you coming and going. Now, therapists know that guilt's been around for a long, long time. I mean, after all, look at Adam and Eve. They're still we're still talking about their guilt, and all they ate was an apple. It wasn't even a decadent piece of chocolate cake. And therapists really don't know how to get rid of guilt, but they have ideas of ways where you can, work with your guilt. So number one, they suggest that you pour a cup of tea, sit down and imagine guilt across the table from you and have a conversation. Now, most of us have voices in our head that relate to certain people in our lives, maybe our mom or our dad or our religion. But what does the face of guilt look like? Is it ugly? Is it scary? Or maybe it's a clown face looking at us and laughing at his head off at us for all the time and energy we spend around guilt. Number two, therapists suggest making amends with somebody you did wrong. So one day you dig in your bag of guilt and you find something that's been there for 25 years, all slimy and smelly. So you confront your friend. And as you begin to speak, your friend looks at you like you've got three heads. They don't even know what you're talking about. And you've been carrying it around in your bag for 25 years. Now, some therapists think a little bit of healthy guilt is good for you. Healthy guilt? I don't get it. How do I make my guilt healthy? Do I give it vitamins? Do I put it on a treadmill? Or maybe I give it fruit smoothies. I just don't get that one. And number four, just let it go. After all, we're human and we make mistakes. Let it go. Well, if you'd have told me that 25, 30 years ago, I wouldn't have so much in my guilt bags. Fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. I encourage each one of you to reconsider guilt in your life and question, do I want this to control my life? And I'm going to leave you with two things to ponder. Number one, guilt spelled backwards is talug. Yes, talug, a nonsensical word. And I'm starting to believe that guilt is a nonsensical word as well. And number two, I think we're going at this all the wrong way. Instead of being on a diet from that delectable, delicious chocolate cake, I think we need to go on a diet from our guilt. The next time guilt climbs up on your plate, look it straight in the eye and say, no, thank you. I'm on a diet. Madam Toastmaster.